So since you're an educator too, I love pulling lessons from the classroom and kind of bringing that to life. And you were talking about that earlier. So because, so many of my listeners live in that world, I love that your journey is from teaching in South Central LA to becoming that global leader. I think it's so fascinating how you took that journey. And like you said, you've learned so much along the way. So what are some key lessons from the classroom that helped you design talks that move people into action?
Everything I need to learn about teaching, and it's that great Ralph Fulton book. All I really need to know, I learned in kindergarten. I learned that what works with a 12th grader does not necessarily work with a kindergartner, but what works with a kindergartner works with all age levels. I call kindergarten New York, New York. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. Because those kids have about a 7-minute attention span, and they taught me how to keep things engaging because so many talks are so boring. So I actually was given a presentation yesterday. It's the first time I had given it. It was to a group of, it's a round table of CEOs. So here's another big mistake. I'm working with a guy from Saudi Arabia. He's climbed the highest peak on all 7 continents. He swam with sharks in Madagascar. He did the Iditarod in Alaska. I look at him and I'm like, nobody in your audience can relate to you. Nobody in your audience climbed Mount Everest. But you know what? Everybody in your audience peed their pants when they were 6 years old. That's a story that's going to connect with people. And so when you're asking me, Jackie, about how does the classroom affect my speaking, all of my presentations, I'm always using examples. So the example I gave yesterday, I said, okay, when I was an elementary school teacher, I was asked to be a judge at the science fair. And so there were 3 finalists. So finalist number 1, her project was called The Impact of Photosynthesis on Chlorophyll Production. She had a trifold. She had 47 bullet points. She had 3 graphs. The second finalist was a comparative analysis of soil density. He had tons of data. He had tons of graphs. He had laminated soil samples. Okay? The third finalist was baking soda in a volcano, and every 90 seconds it exploded. So I ask you, where do you think everybody congregated? The chlorophyll, the dirt, or the volcano?
The volcano, because most of us have done it.
Here's the thing. It wasn't the smartest project. It wasn't the most data-driven project. It wasn't even actually the most accurate project. But you know what it was? It had structure. It built tension. It drew your interest. It got people to lean in. For the last several years, I've been working with executives and entrepreneurs and business owners, and they're showing up to investment meetings with chlorophyll. They're going to private equity with laminated dirt. They're going with their impressive spreadsheets to billion-dollar fund managers. And they wonder why nobody's leaning in. Simplify, simplify, simplify. Create pictures for your audience. I'll give you an example. This is an exercise for you, Jackie. I want you to take 5 seconds and to think of an apple. Okay, what did you just think of?
A red apple.
A red apple. Great. Mm-hmm. Excellent. I've had people say, I thought of a green Granny Smith apple. Some people will say, I thought of an apple pie. Some people get even more clever. I thought of an Apple iPhone or an Apple computer. But in all my years of doing that exercise with people, I've never once had a person say, oh, I thought of APPLE. Because the human mind does not think in words, it thinks in pictures. Your job as a storyteller is to get people to think in pictures. When you get people thinking in pictures, that's when you're going to become a more effective communicator.